With Chicago Bears minicamp, one of the things that stood out was Caleb Williams and the steps that he's making, the expectations for him going now into year 3. With that said, Mike Florio has talked about Caleb Williams and his next contract extension and saying that it could be near the Patrick Mahomes deal. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that means for the Chicago Bears and their team and roster building going forward into the future and what Caleb Williams needs to do to earn that level of contract extension from the Chicago Bears. We're also going to look at 3 Bears players that are definitely on the chopping block now after Bears minicamp, and they may not even make it through the majority of training camp. We're going to take a look at that. Plus, 2 players that I think have shown themselves to be on the path to break out majorly for the Chicago Bears team heading into next season. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. Yo, wait, before we get into the content, though, I need y'all to hit the subscribe button. Chicago Bears Central has a goal of getting to 30,000 subscribers by the start of the 2026 season, and we can only do that with the help of you guys. Looking at analytics, about 45% of you guys who watch the channel every single day are not subscribed to the channel. It's free, costs nothing. Hit that subscribe button, help our reach our goals. In exchange for that, we'll be delivering some of the best daily Chicago Bears content you're going to find, period, on YouTube or in podcasting form when it comes down to that. So with that said, though, let's go ahead and jump into the topics for today. And the first one I want to talk about is Caleb Williams, right? Reportedly, Caleb Williams' price tag is about to get scary, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. Caleb Williams it's already broken so many Bears quarterback records, right? And the thing that the challenges that are in front of him in year 3 now are to take it even a step further, right? How far can Caleb Williams go? Can he get that completion percentage together? Can he get the Bears back into the playoffs and get another playoff win? The expectations for Caleb are crazy. We talked about yesterday how Jeremy Fowler of ESPN talked about Caleb Williams as being a top 10 quarterback, saying that that the NFL knows that he's a top 10 quarterback. You know, me and Bobby talked about the things that Caleb Williams needs to do to solidify that because, you know, we're not homers, right, when it comes down to it. So we still understand that there are things that Caleb absolutely needs to do to hit that. I think also when you pair in the fact that a big reason why the Bears didn't go an all-in big splash move like a lot of Bears fans were hoping and wanting to see from this team this season is because they were preparing for the contract extensions of Caleb Williams and Darnell Wright, for that matter, 2 extensions that are going to probably be pretty sizable, right? So when you're already sacrificing and not having the big contract, going after the big fish in free agency, like Bears fans really wanted Max Crosby and stuff like that, it puts an even bigger kind of spotlight and bullseye and target on what is this contract extension going to look like? How are the Bears going to thread this needle? What is Caleb Williams going to do to earn that contract extension? But I want to talk about the quote first, and then we'll get into the details of it. So the direct quote from Florio is this. When time comes for Caleb Williams to get a new deal, the Mahomes number will drive discussions, especially if Williams continues to be on trajectory that could put him among the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in football. We've already heard talk of Williams having expectations that he would be more that would be more eye-popping. And we also expect that Williams will make it known that he wants his contract not after the 2026 postseason ends, but promptly upon the opening of the window for a new deal after the Bears face the Vikings in Week 18. Okay, I want to focus on this quote first, right? Now, I'm going to say this, and this is just me being as a fan. I would be a little bit disappointed if the regular season ends at Week 18, and then Caleb Williams and his camp are trying to push for a contract extension while we're hopefully gearing up for a playoff run. That does leave me with a little bit of a worry. But again, this is Mike Florio really suggesting I don't get the feeling from Caleb Williams like if the Bears are in the postseason next year, they're going to be locked in, ready to go to the battle, right? I really do feel that. So I don't think they're going to slow down and be like, hey, before we get to this playoff game, what about my contract though? The extension's ready. I don't think that's going to happen. Darnell Wright's probably going to get an extension between now and the closing of training camp. Caleb Williams is probably going to get his contract extension shortly after the Bears season officially ends, whether it's regular season or postseason. But he talked about the Patrick Mahomes number. What is the Patrick Mahomes number? at a base salary, Patrick Mahomes is making $27 million, and then it goes all the way up to $39 million in 2033. He's locked in all the way to 2033. Now, this season, he's a cap hit of $34 million. Next season, he's a cap hit of $90 million, but that's partially because of the restructure and the salary, the bonus as well that he works out. He gets $1 million workout bonus, which is absolute crazy when it comes down to, and a $4 million signing bonus as well. It was ridiculous. He got a lot of money, right? He does have a guarantee of a $150 million contract. Now, I don't expect Caleb Williams to actually be at that level. I think when you look at it, Caleb Williams' next contract extension to me is going to be somewhere between, I'm going to give a wide range here, somewhere between 18 to 25 million. It's probably somewhere where it's going to be as, the initial base and rise up based off how much they put as salary bonus and all, or a signing bonus and all that type of stuff, right? But that's probably what you're looking at. And it's probably going to be a sizable cap hit for the Chicago Bears. Now, the benefit of it is the Bears have so many players coming off a contract next year. We got other players that we can cut, waive without taking much dead money back. The Bears are going to have flexibility next offseason. But between Darnell Wright's contract extension and Caleb Williams' contract extension, that's going to dictate a lot of where the other money is going to go. Gervon Dexter is going to be ready for a contract extension soon, right? We've talked about that. Tyreek Stevenson, he's probably on his way out, though, especially if Malik Muhammad looks really good. But so it puts that kind of expectation. And this, I wanted to talk about that for Caleb Williams. What is he going to have to hit to be able to get there? And I think if Caleb Williams wants to solidify that sizable, that 20+ million contract extension, you have to get the completion percentage at the level that we've talked about. Between 60 to 64-ish% is probably where you want Caleb Williams to be. I'd say between 62 and 64%, but maybe I'm aiming a little bit high. He's already broken several Chicago Bears passing records. He's probably going to break more this year, especially if he gets that completion percentage together. It's not out the realm of possibility Caleb Williams throws for close to 4,500 yards this year with 30 touchdowns. That's a possibility for Caleb Williams this year. He hits that. He's taking care of it on the field. Get another playoff win. That's going to get you there as well. I think those things are really in the realm of possibility for Caleb Williams. It wouldn't shock me if he gets that contract extension as long as he hits those things, and there's no question about it, right? He's going to earn a big deal, and the Bears aren't going to let him go. It's going to be there, right? But I do think this, if you look at the former Heisman Trophy winner, how the 2025 season ended, the growth that we're expecting here coming into 2026, it's going to be a big year for Caleb Williams, and thus it's going to be rewarded with a big contract extension. Let me know what you guys think down below. Hearing this comment from Mike Florio, and what do you expect Caleb Williams' next contract to look like? Do you think it could look even more than $20 to $25 million? Am I undercutting it some? Let me know what you guys think in regards to that down below. With that said, Chicago Bears minicamp is come and went. See what happens next for the Chicago Bears. But there are players that I do think are in danger of getting cut, and that's because of a mix of talent at other positions. At their position, and just kind of disappointment from them as a whole since they've been a Chicago Bear. So we're going to go through this list I want to talk about. And the first player that I want to talk about on this list is Roschon Johnson. Roschon Johnson is a big guy that I do think it's time for him to go. Listen, I hate to say it, and I know it's going to sound harsh when it comes down to it, but you already know DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai are locked in. Coleman Bennett brings everything that Roschon Johnson could possibly bring, but without the injury history, and he's younger and is going to be cheaper, right? I think when you look at Roschon Johnson had another injury-riddled season that limited him in 2025, and we saw more tackles from him playing on special teams than we saw touches for him coming out the backfield. To me, yeah, Roschon Johnson still has potential and talent, but he's really turned into the Chicago Bears version of Patrick Williams. And not that he was drafted as high, but you got to remember, like, Roschon Johnson coming out that first rookie minicamp. You remember the clip between Eberflus and was it Getsy at that point? When it was talked about, like, oh my God, like, hey, this kid is talented. Like, he got the stuff, and we've never seen it. Like, Roschon Johnson has always been more potential over functionality. We've never seen Roschon Johnson actually look like a player that is going to stick around and is that worth the investment. And that's just the reality of it, right? He played in 7 games during the 2025 season. He only had two rushes for 17 yards, and he had more tackles than anything else. Yes, he's shown potential. It is what it is. He had 352 rushing yards as a rookie and 6 touchdowns as a sophomore. But at this point now, younger players have passed him up, and there are already players that are younger than him already on the board that could also pass him up as well just because of the situation. Roschon Johnson is a forgotten Chicago Bear, and this is a guy that me, C-Dub, and Bobby were super excited about. A lot of Bears fans were excited about Roschon when we got him. But the fact of the matter is, it just does not seem like between Britton Brown, between Coleman Bennett, it just seems like this is going to be Roschon's time for the Chicago Bears has come to an end. And not to say that he can't go somewhere else and maybe find his angle, find a path for his career or something, but it just does not seem like it's going to be here, nor should it be here, because Roschon just ain't cutting the mustard. And so at the end of the day, I think Roschon Johnson is a big prospect or a big chance to get cut here between now and the end of training camp. I would not be surprised if Roschon Johnson is no longer a Chicago Bear. Next up, Kiran Amegadjie. Kiran Amegadjie is much like Roschon Johnson in a lot of ways, a guy that we drafted and we knew was raw. We knew he was going to take some time, right? So that part wasn't necessarily the thing that stood out the most, but it's how he continues to be passed up, right? Can play guard or tackle, but reportedly is not done either very well, right? Between, Audrey Trapillo coming in, passing him up, Theo Benedict coming in and passing him up, right? Now you got Jedrick Willis also coming in here, who's definitely, if he's healthy, going to pass him up as well, right? Kiran Amegadjie right now just does not seem to be a spot or a role for Kiran Amegadjie. And as a former third-round pick, Kiran is a perfect example of how Ryan Poles continued to misevaluate, offensive line talent until last year. Last year was the year. And I guess you can say Braxton, because Braxton at least was able to be a serviceable starter for a while. But between Braxton Jones and until last year, where we signed or traded for all the veterans and drafted Audrey Trapillo, it's been a lot of misses for Ryan Poles on that offensive line. And Kiran Amegadjie is a perfect example of that. He is so far behind the curve in the tackle battle for left or right tackle. He's a non-motherfucking factor. And that's just really the best way to say it. He's a non-motherfucking factor. And so because of that, Kiran Amegadjie is absolutely somebody that I can see the Bears moving on from. It's just at the end of the day, I think that Kiran Amegadjie, to survive on this team, would have to come either somebody getting injured that's way ahead of him, or him finally coming in and having an amazing training camp. He's still very young, so maybe that's a possibility of it happening. But as it stands right now, I don't believe it. I don't think it's going to happen. And Kiran Amegadjie is definitely somebody that I can see being on their way out for the Chicago Bears. And then lastly, James Lynch. And I know we just signed James Lynch to a one-year contract over the offseason, but we even said then that because that was before the draft and everything, that depending on what the Chicago Bears did, it could leave him to be a player that they can cut without, worried about long-term attached money when it comes down to it. And I think he's facing an uphill battle. While guys like Neville Gallimore, I think, are going to have a bigger path. Kentavious Street, because he can play multiple roles, is going to have a bigger path. I think Grady Jarrett and Gervon Dexter, we know they're still probably going to be their starters. Neville Gallimore, Kentavious Street is going to be the guys that pass them up. But then because you have Jaden Vandenberg, you have Shamar Turner, you have these guys, I just think that James Lynch, it's probably a long shot for him to make the final 53-man roster. Now, I don't think that's a big thing. Like, that's a big deal when it comes down to it. When you sign these veterans in the offseason, your hope is that a younger player is going to come in and be able to pass them up. And that's exactly what could happen here, especially if Jaden Vandenberg is more ready to contribute more regularly than what a lot of us thought when the Bears signed him. Then it leaves that comes down to it. Now, he does have 5 years of NFL experience. He's appeared in 71 games, 17 games with Titans last year in 2025. But you look at it, James Lynch, even with his PFF grade, 53 PFF grade, he ranked 87th out of 134 defensive linemen. And so with the Bears' weakness being defense, you got to start pruning some of these players as well. And I think that's going to be the thing. But there could be other moving pieces that could leave him to potentially still be on the roster. But I'd be willing to bet, especially if they believe in Jaden Vandenberg like we've heard they have after training camp, I'd be kind of willing to believe that James Lynch is probably going to be on his way out and not be somebody that ends up making the final 53. Now, this is just the three players that I'm kind of standing out and looking at now. This isn't the complete list. There could be there will absolutely be other players that don't make the final 53-man roster. But these are some of the notable ones that, because of either where they were drafted at by the Chicago Bears in the case of Kiran Amegadjie and Roschon Johnson, and the expectations that they once had to actually turn into something for the Chicago Bears, and then the veteran in James Lynch, I just think that this is going to be the last run for a lot of these guys. And like I said, these three players would not be surprised if they don't even make it to the end of training camp. Would not be surprised at all if they don't make it to the end. If we're talking about them maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks into training camp, these guys are cut, and it makes room for just kind of the focus on the players that you want to develop, especially with Dayote Yingbo too. While, guys know how I feel. I have the viral clip about how I feel about Dayote Yingbo and him being motivated, right? But I do think with his contract, there is plans to move him more into the interior, where he's historically been a better pass rush on the interior as well, which could leave a veteran like James Lynch even further down the pecking order as well. Of course, there's hope that Dial can get back to that guy that's had an 8-sack season if you play him right in the right situation. He's still only 26 years old. I know there's not a lot of faith for him. I don't have a lot of faith in him either. But if with the contract that he has and stuff like that, the Bears are going to be kind of inclined to give him an opportunity to kind of prove himself in 2026. So that's my thought process. I want to hear from you guys, though. Who are some players that you believe could not make it out of or make it all the way through training camp before they're cut by the Chicago Bears? Let me know that down below. Last topic of the day before we get out of here. Sports Illustrated has talked about the Chicago Bears as, wait, no, I got the sleepers. See, listen, old man age, right? I want to talk about two players that could very well be sleepers for this team. And I think that's what you're looking at as far as building the tougher kind of identity that we've seen for the Chicago Bears, that we've seen the Chicago Bears and heard that the Bears want to build. One is Austin Booker. I think Austin Booker is a safe choice for a player that can make a huge leap, mainly because we saw the flashes of it last year. We saw the signs and the flashes that Austin Booker could be somebody that can get 9.5, 10 sacks, and what that does for the Chicago Bears. I think if you look at it from the Bears starting defensive line, if you get 10 sacks from Montez Sweat, let's say 8 to 9.5 from Austin Booker, which puts you at 19.5 there. You get the 7.5 from Gervon Dexter, which then puts you at 26 to 27 sacks right there. Then you get another 5 or 6 from Grady Jarrett. Like, if you get that from your starting defensive line, that almost gets you what you got from your whole team as a whole last season, right? And that's really good. But Austin Booker is somebody that you are looking. The Bears bet on Austin Booker. When you don't go after veteran edges, when you don't go after edges in the draft, it tells me that there's somebody on your team that you feel is ready to make a leap. That player has to be Austin Booker. And if Austin Booker really does make that leap this season, it does so much for the Chicago Bears and their team building, right? And so I think right now he's likely to get a high role for the Chicago Bears. And if he becomes a double-digit sack guy this season for the Chicago Bears, listen, that is what converts pressures into reality, right? And even just getting more consistent pressure does a lot of work for the Chicago Bears. So I think those are things that the Bears can definitely look at. Austin Booker is a player that definitely can help the Chicago Bears in that path. And so he's one that you definitely have to stand out. And then also Coby Bryant. Now, one could say, Haize, why do you have him on this list considering the Bears? He was one of the Bears' key free agent acquisitions. That's because, listen, from what we've heard in training camp, Coby Bryant is bringing everything that you want, right? And when this guy, and with Dylan Thieneman, and what these two guys can pair out and do in the safeties, it's going to help the Chicago Bears defense take that necessary step forward that we're trying to take. And that is where the special sauce lives for the Chicago Bears team. So I think that Coby Bryant, with what he's done with Super Bowl success, right? A Super Bowl champion when it comes down to it, and being one of those guys that can be a hidden gem for this team, him and Thieneman are going to be part of the reason why this Bears defense looks so much better. And so I think these are two players that really watch for how they conduct themselves, because if these two guys turn into hits for the Chicago Bears, it frees up so much. You need impact players on every level for the Chicago Bears, and one or two of them, really, if we're being honest with you, right? And the Bears have so much potential in that cornerback room. They have so much potential with their safeties and in the linebacking room as well. You know, Coby Bryant, Austin Booker, if these two players make a big leap and step this year additive to this team, it's going to be really big for this Bears team. But before we get out, now let's get into the last topic of the day, and that's Sports Illustrated and their outlook for the Chicago Bears. I want to read this directly. Sports Illustrated says this: Chicago has a chance to author a memorable season. The Bears were within a play or two of reaching the NFC Championship game last season and should improve with the continued experience of Williams, Loveland, Monanga, Odunze, and others. I'm mad they didn't mention Burden by name there, but it is what it is. That's to say nothing of Johnson, who's in his second season, stands to improve, with hindsight now a weapon. For this group, the biggest question is whether the defense can hold up in 2025. It was ranked 29th in yards, 23rd in points allowed under veteran coordinator Dennis Allen. More range and athleticism should help in the secondary, but personnel up front hasn't changed enough to warrant optimism for improvement. Ultimately, though, these Bears are talented enough to challenge anybody in the league beyond the Rams. The Rams lack truly great rosters. So here's what we're saying. So the Bears are basically saying anybody but the Rams. I mean, the Sports Illustrated is basically saying anybody but the Rams, the Bears can beat on any given day. And I'll say this. I agree with that, right? I can see that on paper. But as we know, things aren't won on paper. You got to get in between those lines. You got to get in that dog mentality, in those stances, and that's where games are won at. And injuries and progression, that's always a hard thing to judge, right? But I do think this. I get it that the defense has had its disappointments, and the Bears still have to prove that last year wasn't a fluke. But I really need fans to start understanding and getting this. This team is turning into something real. And this ain't the Matt Eberflus Bears. This isn't the Bears of 3, 4, 5 years ago. This is a different team with a different mentality, a different culture, a different coach, and different talent as well. This Bears team is a team that warrants real expectations. Will they live up to it? Now, that's a story for another day, but this team warrants expectations because they have built it, they have done it, and they continue to add it. And we have the voice that leads it all. Because we have Ben Johnson, it brings a lot. Could this season be a Super Bowl run season for the Chicago Bears? We made a leap last year. We got to show that leap was real, and we got to bring more functional, consistently good offense and defense to this team and not live off takeaways and live off comeback drives, right? If the Bears do those things, it's there. The Bears don't need to be perfect this year, but they do need a defense that is at least middle of the pack, between 14 and 16, because I think this offense is really going to be elite. Can the Bears really be and contend for an NFC championship this year? Yeah, I think that is doable. But the thing is that there are other check marks and things that need to happen for us to get there. Ain't nobody crowning our asses. And so we got to prove to the world that we aren't who they think we are, right? We got to come out here, and this is a season where the Bears got to remind people of what we did last year and show, all right, cool, we had to do it last year with comebacks. Now we got the toughest schedule in the league, and we're about to show y'all it's about to be a lot different of a story. Ain't nothing sweet in Chicago. And let's hope that that's what happens here. But that's going to do it for today, man. That's going to be my time for today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this channel, and you guys know what it means for me to have you guys here, man. Make sure you sign off on everything down below. What do you feel about Caleb Williams on that Patrick Mahomes level contract? What do you think about happens? Who are players do you think could get cut? Who do you think are standout potential for the Bears this year? Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.